Today's episode of Motive Quick Drive is pretty special for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Glen's offered to let me drive what I think is probably one of the best street GT-Rs, not just in Australia, but on the planet. Why? Well, it's immaculate. It's got a great interior. It looks amazing, sounds amazing, but most importantly, it's gone 9.1 at 162, and it's since had the power turned up, gunning for an 8, all while being registered, a street car that's drivable. And secondly, I get to test out the new PPG Sequential gearbox for GT-R. I've driven almost every Sequential there is in a GT-R. You know the brands, I've driven them. So I can give a pretty good comparison between them, not just in terms of how they drive under sort of full noise, but also how they drive as a street car. And the PPG gearbox has actually been pitched as something that has more technology in it in terms of a much better closed loop flat shift system that it has, but also the fact that it's quieter than most of the other race Sequentials and easier to drive on the street. So it's only one way to find out, right? What's your clutch like? Not too bad. Yeah, it's pretty good. So obviously with a Sequential, you can use the clutch if you want to, but you do need to be assertive with the shift. Flat shift is more of a full noise thing. So this car runs a Howtech, but Croydon Racing Developments have set up the flat shift in it as well, which means obviously full noise shifts without lifting the throttle or using the clutch at all, which makes for much faster shifts and obviously, well, a faster car. So let's see what it's like to drive normally. And you know what? Straight away, it's pretty easy to drive. So you've got to be assertive with the shift, but it's not very hard to shift. You don't have to be violent. It's just more of a, just being quick, right?
Yep.
So you've been driving around on the street. What's it been like?
The box has been amazing, to be honest. I love it. I would never change to an auto or...
Sequential is life, right?
Yeah, it's the PPG, the way they've made it. It's amazing.
Well, as you can see, I'm driving it around like a normal car, and it's not a problem in the world. And you don't even have to blip the throttle and downshift when you're driving normally. A lot of people think that you have to, but when you're under such light load and decelerating driving normally, you don't have to blip the throttle. You can just downshift, and obviously the upshifts with the clutch are pretty easy. So as long as you're assertive with it, there's no problems driving it around. In fact, already I can tell you that in terms of the noise and how much it sort of clunks on the gear change, this is definitely a much better Sequential box than the other ones I've driven in terms of just, I can just drive it like a normal GT-R. It's just got a cool gearbox. Now this is a 2.8 litre with a precision, how big is it?
76, 75.
So that's not small.
No, it's about 1250.
And at the moment we're on 24 pounds, and how much power is that roughly?
I'd say it's making about 500 kilowatts, probably a bit more.
About there?
Yeah.
So in other words, it should be similar in power to my car, but probably a little bit different delivery.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
And being a Croydon car, I know it's going to rev to probably 9 grand without a problem.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, it's a very reliable car. It gets driven hard every time I drive it. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been very good.
So as you can see, I can still clutchless shift, even at part throttle, just a tiny lift of the accelerator just to unload the gearbox slightly. And you don't even need to use the clutch when you just want to sort of accelerate briskly through town and stuff. So even rolling on, you can go back to first pretty easy. And if that's 24 pound, can you drive it on 40 plus on the street? You need some room, don't you?
Yeah.
So as you can see, I was able to go from clutchless shifting without lifting the throttle to being back to being a street car again pretty easily. Cool. I've been in this car when it's on that sort of 40 plus region at power cruise, and as a passenger, I can tell you, we are starting to push the limits of pretty much what you can drive safely on the street under full noise. But as you can see, the best thing is I can drive it like a street car, and then when you want that power, it's there. So Good work, Jim. Did a good tune, mate. I like it.
She's a good streeter, that's for sure.
Man, this is mint. Like, obviously on a normal road tyre, you'd lose a little bit of that sort of radial shake that you get, or a bit of the amount that it squirms around, but man, that is super addictive, and I think we'll put it away in case someone comes for a bit of a walk. Well, that was my first drive with a PPG Sequential and a GT-R, and I will say this, perfect. I can't fault it, and whoo! Yeah.